We welcome to the show, Suggs. How's it going?
It's going great, my friend. Yeah, couldn't be better.
So your album, Theatre of the Absurd, C'est La Vie, is number one in the official albums chart. How does that make you feel?
Terrific. Yeah, just, been celebrating the last couple of days. I mean, the irony is, of all those albums we made, this is the first one that's number one, apart from one compilation album. So it's pretty extraordinary after 40 years. Yeah, it's been a huge surprise to all of us, to be honest.
Yeah, it's kind of taken you by surprise, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. I mean, the process of making a record, you write songs, you get in the room, you start recording them, you're not really sure, and then bit by bit you start to think, hang on, this is starting to sound quite good. We've got a very good record company, BMG, or as Mike, our keyboard player, calls them, MGM. Anyway, it's like a cinema, it's like an Oscar. But the record started to get better and better reviews, and all the interviews we were doing were very positive, and suddenly a sort of optimism started to arise that it could be number one, which was it was a shock to all of us.
And I am right in saying this is your first studio album to make it to number one, isn't it? Which is amazing.
It is really
surprising.
Even we were sort of pinching ourselves. We were looking back through the records and thought, surely One Step Beyond must have been number one, but it wasn't. They were all number one. I mean, number twos and threes, and never one of our standalone albums got to number one. So yeah, it's a great feeling.
And did you have a good night out to celebrate? Good weekend?
Of course we did. Slightly exhausted because I've been doing every single breakfast, lunch, TV, dinner, Strictly Come Dancing. So it was very full on a few weeks in terms of the promoting of the album. But as I say, it was getting more and more positive, so it was very rewarding. And so yeah, we ended up opening a new HMV store in Oxford Street, and it was that one. It was that moment when we heard that we were number one. So it all sort of coagulated at a very special time.
Wonderful. And you've beat Taylor Swift to number one as well. How does that feel?
Well, I've got nothing against Taylor Swift, but we kicked her ass. You know what I mean?
And I really like Round We Go. Is there a special meaning behind that song?
Woody, our drummer, wrote that song. I mean, that's the great thing about our band, that everybody writes. And, as far as I know, you should probably talk to him, but it's just about a wayward child whose mother was trying to encourage him to be a bit less wayward. And I think that's, a sentiment that a lot of parents understand. That's basically the premise.
Yeah, it sounds like a very, very much like a bittersweet madness song, if you know what I mean. But a good one.
I do. And I think that's a very good... We was talking about that word, bittersweet, or is it two words? That inform a lot of our work, even though it sometimes seems like we're happy-go-lucky jumping up and down with red noses on. A lot of our songs are, bitter and sweet, yeah. I mean, I think it was Neil Tennant once told me about pathos, which means happiness and sadness at the same time, which is an unusual position, but one that Madness have always kind of followed.
Yeah, what was it like putting the album together?
It was really good fun, yeah, because... we were all bored of hearing about it, but the lockdown and all that, and not being able to do anything for 2 or more years, and we weren't allowed to see each other. So getting back in the rehearsal room was great. We rented a space in an industrial estate in northwest London, and just to give us the chance not to have to worry about time schedules or money. My manager's shouting in the background. So it just meant we could come and go when we wanted, leave all our gear set up. And then we just started to think, well, maybe we're recording bass as well. And it just started to work well.
Yeah, it was a strange period, wasn't it? I remember at the time as well, you did a kind of acoustic set, didn't you, during the lockdown?
Yeah, we tried, I mean, me and Mike and a string quartet did an acoustic thing online, which was really actually very good fun. But it was still odd not having an audience. And then we did another bigger show with Charlie Higson from the Fast Show at the Palladium, which was kind of theatrical. We'd made a point of, I saw some bands, kind of pretending that there was an audience out there, and it always looked a bit shaggy. But it was really weird when we came to the performance section of the show. Looking at an empty auditorium, just kind of freaky, because every fibre of your body is let's hope there's somebody out there, and then there isn't. And as I felt it just wasn't for us to do any more of that. We had to wait until the people turn up again, and that's been great this year. The concerts have been better than ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic now, isn't it? Everything's back to normal. And from this new album, do you reckon you'll perform some of these songs live when you get back out gigging?
Yeah, we will, yeah. I mean, there's a debate at the moment. We've just finished rehearsing. In fact, we start on Wednesday, 30th, going to Aberdeen. And I think we're in pretty good shape. How many new songs? I mean, probably 5 or 6, yeah. I mean, I think we're very happy about the songs on this album. Obviously, we realise it's Christmas time and people want to hear the old hits, and probably a lot of office parties and people who come out for a Christmas beano. So you don't want to kind of bore them to death with the whole new album. but hopefully some of them are bored to it and they'll know some of the songs. But we play a good proportion of the new album.
Great. And what are some of your favourite tracks from the album?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I'm very happy with Theatre of the Absurd, which is part of the title of the album, which I wrote, which is just about that feeling of being locked in. I mean, I just saw myself in a sort of faded theatre where there's no exit signs. And the chorus line don't know what song to sing, and nobody knows what they're on about. I mean, I read a little bit about the Theatre of the Absurd, and it was a movement, a surrealist movement, and I think it was a French theatre company that started writing plays in gobbledygook because they just felt like no one could communicate with each other anymore. And it kind of felt a bit like that during that whole lockdown, that we were so polarised between different thoughts about what was right and wrong, and you were either on one side or the other. You know, it was a bit like Brexit. And then we started to feel like, well, there should be something in the middle. And the great thing about my band is that, our band, is that there's a great deal of tolerance, that we've known each other since we were kids. And when we got in the rehearsal room, even though we didn't ourselves all agree on a lot of subjects, we just had the space and time to be able to listen to each other and listen to each other's songs. And as you start playing music, it sort of elevates out of, you know, arguments. You know, that's the great thing about music. It's the greatest binding factor, I think.
Yeah, and what I love about this album is it's very much, there's a theme to it, isn't there? Much like The Liberty of Norton Folgate, that kind of album, I think.
That was part of the process, yeah, that we just thought, you know, there's kind of a beginning, which is like when we're all freaked out, we're locked down. There's a middle where we're kind of going, are we ever going to get out of here? And then hopefully there's an end, which is that we have got out of that process. But as I say, because everyone writes, so 6 people writing songs from different perspectives, we tried to make it into something conceptual, yeah. And then there was Michael, keyboard player, thought about making it Act 1, Act 2 and Act 3, and then getting Martin Freeman, the actor who's a friend of ours, to do some little kind of vignettes in between those 3 sections, and I think it worked really well.
Didn't you also have something with Helen Mirren as well? I saw that.
Indeed we did, yeah. When we were sitting about at the record company talking about what we were going to do before the album came out, somebody said, you know, well, why don't we get like an actor to read some of the lyrics of C'est La Vie, the first single. And I kind of know Helen Mirren. She has a house. I've got a house in Italy, and she has a house just down the road. So I got to know her a little bit. And I said, well, just look. I mean, I don't know if she would do it. Unfortunately, she wasn't doing anything at the time, and so she just recited the lyrics to our first single, having not even heard the record, but just did it in this kind of sort of vaguely Shakespearean fashion, and it just, everyone really liked it, and it really sparked the whole process of the release of this album.
Oh yeah, wonderful actress, isn't she? I particularly like her in The Long Good Friday. Remember that one?
Yes, mate. Oh my God. And what she is, a force of nature, I've sort of got to know her. I mean, she's so down to earth, which is a sort of cliche, but also she's so powerful, and I think even today, like, possibly one of the most successful actors in Hollywood. You know, every time there's a film premiere, she's always the one on the front page. She's done so well, and she worked so hard. So it was very rewarding for us to hear her doing our words. It's great.
So after all these years, what do you think it is that keeps the band successful, keeps you going, and, you know, what do you think it is?
Well, That's a very good question. I mean, it's impossible to answer because it's been so long now. So many things have happened to us. You know, we've had our ups, we've had our downs, but we've had so many ups. You know, the roof of Buckingham Palace, you know, headlining Glastonbury. You know, we've got a #1 album right as we speak. It just seems to keep going, and I don't honestly know why. I mean, we've always been friends since we were kids, and I think that might have something to do with it, that our relationship with each other is real, you know, and I think people relate to reality, you know what I mean? I mean, so much of the entertainment business is pre-written, some PR expert, or, you know what I mean, you're told what to say, what to feel, and we've always just expressed ourselves as normal people, which I hope that we still are.
Yeah, like you said with Helen Mirren, I mean, obviously you do your thing, but you're still normal people at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, on that score, I was doing a one-man show in some little pub in Islington in North London, and Helen said, "I'd like to come and see her." I said, "Well, of course you can." Anyway, she got on the bus with her sister. She just pulled a bobble out over her eyes, pretended to be somebody else. But she turned up as a normal person, yeah, and I think, you know, it's a great strength if you can still keep your feet vaguely on the ground while, you know, you are obviously somebody that people want to take photographs of. And I think for Madness, you know, it's always been more important that we live some kind of normal life, and then the entertainment business is just a job, you know, it's just a job, and it's a great job, a really marvellous, privileged job to perform music and to play in front of people.
Yeah. And out of all your classic songs, this is a very hard question, but
yeah.
What's your favourite?
Well, for me personally, it's Embarrassment, which was, I don't know, one of our earlier singles. But it's a very odd song, you know, and it also, like you said, that bittersweet thing, because it was actually about the saxophone player Lee's sister had a baby with a black guy, and the family started to find that difficult. And you know, this is a long time ago now, but that is actual truth, you know, and it explains, without sort of hitting you over the head with a mallet, how difficult that situation was. It's interesting also because it doesn't really have a chorus; it just has saxophone solos, and Embarrassment just comes right at the end. You're an embarrassment, boom. That's the only time you hear the title of the song. Anyway, I just don't know. Whenever I play that song, I just still really like it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so many great songs. Baggy Trousers, My Girl, well, so many to choose from.
I think that as well, you know, that you say the success. I mean, because we had so many hits. I remember once seeing Bob Dylan, you know, you never knew what you were going to get watching him. But at some point he said, if you don't like this one, don't worry, there'll be another one along in 3 minutes. So I think that's a bit similar with Madness. It's that everybody relates to different songs for different periods of their life. You know, like you mentioned those songs. You can kind of see on the faces of people that moment in time was captured by a pop. You know, I think all pop music captures a moment in time, and you relive that moment, yeah, and especially, you know, the stuff from when you're young or a teenager, you know, your first kiss or your first whatever, your first cigarette, your first drink. These pop songs capture a time, you know, and they resonate when you get older. When you hear those songs, you're taken back. A bit like a smell of, you know, a curry or something. I don't know. It's like very hard to put your finger on, but we had a lot of hits, yeah, and they're all good, and I love them all. You know, I don't dislike any. When I look back at all those songs that we wrote, we had a sort of moral compass, and I don't know why that is, but all those songs sort of meant something to us, and I think that's why they mean something to everybody else.
Yeah, I really like NW5 as well, from the Liberty in Alton Folgate. That's a great one.
Yeah, that's funny, because that sort of came left beat out of nowhere, and that's the song we still play, and the audience really dig, yeah. And again, you know, that's just Lee, our saxophone player, wrote the words to that, about living in Kentish Town as a kid, and I don't know, yeah, we always wrote about small things, little things, local things, but, you know, I think everybody goes, you know, My Girl, you know, everyone remembers the first girlfriend, baggy trousers, you know, going to school, everyone, our house, everyone remembers about their house. You don't have to necessarily talk about the freeway or the, you know, love or the planet. You can just write about having a cup of tea, and people resonate with that.
Yeah, everyday life, and of course
everyday life. That's it. Yeah.
Of course, you're celebrating this album, and it's going to be a while till you do the next one, probably. But I imagine you'll keep going, won't you?
I think we will, yeah. I mean, when we got to the rehearsal rooms for this album, we had 40 songs, so there's sort of another 30 still knocking around. I think we might be able to make another album, hopefully quicker than the 7 years it took us to get making this one. But yeah, I mean, you know, we are in a situation where we can do what we want when we want. And so when we do something, it's really full on, you know what I mean? And we really get behind it, you know, like this album. Did so much talking about what we were all going through. And, you know, the band is a bit like a sort of therapy session because we've all been through the same things. But yeah, hopefully it goes on, you know, so long as the knees hold out, I'm perfectly happy to carry on.
Yeah, I think I saw you just before lockdown in Brighton. That was a good gig.
Well, yeah, I mean, live, you know, it's just, people really like it. I mean, we're doing an arena tour coming up soon, and it's all sold out, and people like what we do, so, you know, I feel privileged, yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Suggs, and congratulations again for making it to number one.
Well, I'm so glad I got to speak to you. Apparently, it's been a few years you've been trying to get hold of me.
Yeah, 5 years apparently. I didn't realise it was that long. I spoke to you before, but this obviously was even longer ago, but yeah.
Well, I'm very glad we caught up, mate.
Great.
Hopefully see you soon, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Suggsy.
All right, mate.